Let us discuss in the instrumentation part single beam and double beams UV spectrophotometer. Now, as you can see in the diagram, the light from the source is carried through the lens and or through the aperture to pass to the suitable filter. Then the type of filter is governed by the color of the solution. The sample solution to be analyzed is placed in the cuvettes, and then after passing through the solution, the light strikes the surface of the detector, that is a barrier layer cell of the phototube, and produces electric current. The output is measured by deflection of the needle of the galvanometer, and then it is calibrated in terms of transmittance. The readings of both standard and unknown are recorded after adjusting the instrument to the reagent black. In the double beam spectrophotometer, as you can see in the diagram, you can see the source, then the entrance slit, then the dispersing device, there is exit slit, then there is a mirror. Now this is passed to the chopper, and after this you can see here it is split into two beams. One is passing to the reference, the other is passing to the sample, and then finally it is passing to the detector. So here the two beams are formed in the space by U-shaped mirror, that is called beam splitter or beam chopper. So chopper is a one device that consists of the circular disc. 1/3 of this disc is opaque and the 1/3 is transparent, remaining 1/3 is mirror. So it is going to split the monochromatic beam of light into two beams of equal intensities. So the advantage of simple beam being simple in construction, easy to use and economical. But double beam requires, it facilitates the rapid scanning over the wide wavelength region, fluctuations are minimized, and does not require adjustment of the transmittance at 0% and 100% at each wavelength. It gives ratio of intensity of the sample and the reference beams simultaneously. But the disadvantages, let us see. Single beam, any fluctuation in the intensity of radiation source will affect the absorbance and you will not get a continuous spectrum. Double beam construction is complicated and the instrument is expensive. Let us see the comparison. Single beam and the double beam. Calibration should be done with blank every time before measuring the absorbance or the transmittance of the sample. In double beam, the calibration is done only in the beginning. Radiant energy intensity changes with the fluctuation of voltage, and double beam permits the large degree of inherent compensation for the fluctuation in the intensity of the radiant energy. Single beam measures the total amount of transmitted light reaching the detector, and double beam will measure the percentage of light absorbed by the sample. Single beam does not possible to compare the blank and the sample together, whereas in the double beam it is possible to do direct one-step comparison of the sample and the standard. In the single beam, radiant energy wavelength has to be adjusted every time, and this double beam, it can be done over the wide wavelength region. Working on the single beam is tedious and time consuming. Working is fast and non-tedious in the double beam. And finally, let us discuss the applications of the UV visible spectroscopy. It is useful for characterizing the aromatic compounds and conjugated olefins. It can be used to find out molar concentration of the solute under study. So the qualitative and quantitative analysis. Second is detection of the impurities. It is one of the important methods to detect the impurities, the organic solvents. If you're getting initial peaks, that could be due to the impurities, and that can be compared with that of the standard raw material. Structural elucidation, the presence or absence of unsaturation, the presence of heteroatoms like sulfur, nitrogen, oxygen, halogen can be determined. Structural analysis. Effect of conjugation. Extended conjugation, as we have seen in the earlier videos, the extended conjugation, if it is there, that shift the lambda max to the longer wavelength, and reduction of the compound or the saturation of the double bond will lead to the opposite effect, that is hypsochromic shift. Effect of geometric isomerism. Trans isomer absorbs at the longer wavelength than the cis. Cis to trans conversion is the bathochromic shift and the hyperchromic effect. So this is very important application, that is detecting the isomerism. Alkyl substitution, shift the lambda max to the longer wavelength. We have seen one example earlier. number of rings addition of the rings cause a bathochromic effect. And this is one point which tells us how we have to select the solvent. The selection of the solvent is very important. And the nonpolar solvent does not hydrogen bond with the solute, and the spectrum of the solute closely approximate the spectrum that it would have been produced in the gaseous state, whereas in the polar solvent the hydrogen bond forms in the solute solvent complex. The final structure may disappear. Okay, so the first criteria, it should not absorb the UV radiation, as the substance whose spectrum is being determined. Usually the solvent do not contain the conjugated system are most suitable. So the most commonly used solvents are ethanol, water. Thank you. Do share and do subscribe. You can find the notes in the link which I have given in the description at the end of the. You can download the same. Thank you. Let us continue with the instrumentation part of UV spectroscopy. We are going to discuss about detectors, and at the end we will discuss the applications of UV spectrophotometer, the device which converts the light energy into the electrical signals which are displayed on the readout device, and the transmitted radiation fall on the detector, which will determine the type of determine the intensity of the radiation absorbed by the sample. We have three types of detectors which are used in the absorption spectrophotometer: barrier layer cell, or it is also called as photovoltaic cell, phototube or the photoemissive tube, and we have the photomultiplier tube. Now the barrier cell or the photovoltaic cell, it is also called as barrier layer cell. You have a thin film metallic layer coated with silver or the gold, which acts as an electrode, and there is a metal base plate which is acting as another electrode, and the two are separated by semiconductor layer of selenium. So now you can see in the diagram, so when the light radiation falls on the selenium layer, electron become mobile. They are taken up by the transparent metal layer. That creates a potential difference between the two electrodes. There is a flow of current. When you are connecting to the galvanometer, the flow of current is observed, that is proportional to the intensity and the wavelength of light. Now in the phototube or the photoemissive tube, you have evacuated glass tube. There is a photocathode and the collector anode. Now the surface of the photocathode is coated with a layer of elements like cesium, silver oxide, or a mixture of them. When the radiant energy falls to the photosensitive cathode, electrons are emitted. They are attracted towards the anode, causing the current to flow. And more sensitive, this is more sensitive and widely used. Then we have photomultiplier tube. Now the principle involved here is multiplication of the photoelectrons. So first you can see this is better given here. So you have the photocathode and you have the number of photodiodes. Okay, so in a vacuum tube you have this is the front view. So the primary photocathode is fixed, which receives the radiation from the sample. Then 8 to 10 diodes are fixed each, but each with increasing potential of 75-100 volts higher than the preceding ones. And near the last diode you have the anode is fixed. So this is extremely sensitive to light, best suitable when the weaker or lower radiation is received. Then we have readout device. The signal from the detector, after amplification, they are finally received by the recording system and the readout device.